I am not okay. I am not okay. I am not okay. I am not okay at all. Greetings everyone, I'm Kevin and it's time to play YaTBRzy for June. So June is a very special month for me because my book is coming out, which I'm really happy about. But it's also very hectic because it's the end of the school year. So in like 2-3 weeks, it's summer holiday, which is very strange. And because it's the beginning of summer, I thought we could invite back an old friend. So I'm going to spin this again for June. I have changed 5 challenges. So we have now rereads. I don't know how well you can see it. So we have added rereads. So that is read 5 rereads. And the reason that I added that as a challenge is because I try as hard as I can to only pick books from my TBR shelf because I want to read books I haven't already read. Then we have new release, and that means a book published within 12 months. If I land on that for June, that means that I will have to pick 5 books published between June 2021 and June 2022. Then we have BookTube TBR, which I think you can't even see this. Okay, so BookTube TBR means that I will have to go on YouTube and go to my subscription, like the booktubers I subscribe to. Find 5 videos where they go through their TBR for the month. So if I land on that for June, I would have to pick 5 booktubers according to like when they show up on my subscription list and read 1 book per booktuber. And that sounds really fun. And then the next one we have is roll for pages. And what roll for pages means is that I will take a 6-sided dice and roll it for each book and put it like times 100. So if I roll on 1, that's a book that is 100 pages plus minus 10 pages. And if I land on 6, that's a book that is 600 pages plus minus 10. And I hope I don't get that for all 5 books because I have to roll the dice for each of the 5 books. Then let's see. Oh yeah, I missed one here. 12 hours. I added 12 hours. Why? I don't know. As if it wasn't difficult enough with the 24 hours. I added 12 hours. Don't ask me why. I don't know, but I added it and I'm kind of regretting it now, but it's there. So that's what my challenge wheel looks like now, and I will spin it, but we're gonna look at how I did in May first. The first prompt that I got was a book over 300 pages and I chose This Woven Kingdom and I did finish it. The next book I read was for the prompt African and I chose YaTBRzy, and I have read over 50% of this book, meaning that I do count it even though I didn't finish it. I think I have to buy this as a physical book. I did really enjoy the ebook that I read. I just wanted to keep reading it, but I felt like the format, I would have rather read this book physically. So I feel like if I would do that, if I would get my hands on the physical copy, I would read it in 1 day. The next prompt that I got was number 7. And so because with numbers, I can either count on my TBR bookshelf, pick the book from my want to read list on Goodreads, or count on my digital TBR in my reading journal. I counted here and I got Ascension and I did finish it and I loved it. It was so good. The next prompt that I got was East Asian and I chose 86 and I did finish it. The next prompt that I got was another number and it was 16 and I also counted on my TBR shelf and I got Sweet Hand. I didn't read it. I didn't start it. I was so busy this month and I wasn't able to pick this up. So because I didn't finish this, I can't take a book or a prompt from my book buying jar. And that also means that I have to take the book that I already have in the cart out of the cart. So if I do complete this TBR that I will choose now for June, I can get 1 book for this 3-month period. If I complete my June TBR, which I really hope I will do. But because of this, I have to add a punishment prompt. which I'm never happy about. And I should say that I'm not participating in any readathon this month. Why? Because I haven't completed a single readathon this year so far. So, and because I didn't even finish my own TBR for my YaTBRzy, I felt like I'm not gonna do that to myself. So this month for June, I'm just going to focus on completing the TBR for YaTBRzy. So then what we're gonna do now is we're gonna spin this wheel. So I will spin it and do the challenge for whatever comes up. And we get, is that in nature or is it 10 books, 10 days? Okay, I moved it, but now it's 10 books, 10 days. Oh my god. 10 books, 10 days. 1 book a day for 10 days. If you don't remember the rules from last year when I introduced the wheel, the challenge wheel, is that if I don't complete the 5 books that I pick specifically for the challenge wheel, I take a punishment for YaTBRzy. That does not affect the book buying thing, but it does affect punishment prompts. So I will, even though I'm going to read 10 books for 10 days, I shouldn't have introduced it. I shouldn't have included the wheel again. I felt too confident about June. I will pick 5 books specifically for the reading challenge of reading 10 books in 10 days. Why did I add that? Why? Okay. At least it's better than 30 books, 30 days, which I also don't know why I added that. But 10 books, 10 days. Okay. I will pick 5 books that I have to read for it. And then 5 books I will choose while doing the vlog. So I will vlog 10 books, 10 days. You can look out for that sometime in June. Oh my god. And I thought that the 24 hours and in a cafe were difficult. Oh my god, okay. This is the point about the challenge wheel, like it has to be a challenge. Okay, so 10 books, 10 days. I will pick 5 books that I will read specifically for the challenge wheel. If I don't complete one of these, I have to take a punishment for YaTBRzy. But if I finish my June TBR for YaTBRzy, I will take a prompt and buy a book. So the read 5 doesn't affect the book buying thing, but it does affect if I get a punishment for YaTBRzy. This was actually kind of nice because that means that I can pick whatever book I want for YaTBRzy without like having it be like reading the rainbow, only picking like 5 books for like YaTBRzy and the same 5 books for the reading challenge. So this is nice in that way. But I am going to start off YaTBRzy with a punishment prompt for not finishing or starting Sweet Hand. So let's see what punishment I get. Over 500 pages. So much for 10 books, 10 days. I'm not reading a book over 500 pages for a 10 books in 10 days thing. So this I have to do for the other 20 days in the 30-day month. So I have to find a book over 500 pages. Okay, I found 2 books over 500 pages. Though you can argue that it's only 1 book that I found. Because one of them is Magic of Blood and Sea, which is technically a bind up of 2 books. So that depends, like, am I able to count this as over 500 pages? Like, am I able to count it as 1 book, even though it is technically 2 books in 1? And then the question is, would I be able to log it as 2 separate books on Goodreads and in my reading journal? Or do I have to log it as 1 book? I have been interested in reading this lately, like this past 2 months. I've been so like tempted to pick this up. I've been like in a very like pirate mood. I watched Our Flag Means Death and it's so good. It's so good. I've watched it 3 times in the span of 3 weeks, like every weekend. I rewatched Our Flag Means Death, and I was like, I need to read pirate books. And this, I was just super excited to read this. But the question is, can I count it as one book, or do I have to count it as 2 books? I know that on Goodreads you can count it as 1 book, but if I read this, I want to log it as 2 individual books. And that I think is my issue. So that is one option. The other one that I have that is over 500 pages is also over 600 pages. And it's Gemini. This is the 2nd book in the Illuminate Files series. And I want to read this. And I feel like because it is, let me see if I can show you, multimedia. This didn't show very well. So it's multimedia. So there are some documents, some diary entries, some chats, and just a lot of different things. So it's multimedia. I feel like this would be a quicker read than this, even though this is 150 pages more than this. Like, look at the size difference. But then the question is, a 30-day month, do I want to read this in the 10 days I can only read 1 book a day? I mean, I can finish 3 books in 1 day if they're short, like mangas. Why didn't I think of that? Loophole. Okay, I could read this as it is a multimedia thing, and it seems to be kind of like, I think this is a quicker read than it looks. So maybe I should read this, even though I am excited and in the mood to read this. The question is, do I count this as 1 book or 2 books? That's the question. I'm gonna wait until later when I have picked all 5 books for YaTBRzy, and then I can see which of these 2 I want to choose for over 500 pages. But these are the only 2 that I have over 500 pages. Why? Because I don't like reading books over 500 pages. Yeah, okay, then we move on to the actual game and not a punishment prompt. First roll for June. Okay, 2 4s and 3 1s. I only need 5s, so that's the problem. 2 pairs, no, I don't want 2 pairs with 1s. I'm gonna keep the 4s. Keeping the 4s and doing these again. Okay, this is difficult. Okay, I have 1 more roll, but 2 pairs. If I try for another 6, I could do 2 pairs. I don't want to try for a big straight with this. Okay, for a 6, and I got 2 3 4 4 6, so that's no. Okay, what am I gonna do? I can't put it anywhere. I don't have a 5. I don't have 2 pairs. I don't have 4 of a kind. I don't have a big straight. I definitely don't have a full house. I have to cross something out. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. I need to cross something out. I'm gonna cross out the big straight. So, okay, so that's a punishment. No. Historical fiction. Okay, that wasn't so bad. And we have another punishment, but this time it doesn't feel as much as a punishment because it's historical fiction. I don't really have an issue with historical fiction. The reason that it's a punishment is because I tend to find historical fiction boring, for lack of a better word. Like, I feel like they're drawn out and very slow and very like building the feeling of the era in a way that I don't enjoy. Like, I'm like, get to it, get to the point, get to the story, get to the action, like give it to me. And historical fiction tends to be, you know, slower and has to do with a lot more than a specific plot. I feel like it's kind of like a world building thing, which so that's why it's a punishment. We're gonna find a historical fiction book. Okay, so this time I found 4 books. The first one is set in the 80s. It's queer and it's set in Sri Lanka. I did start this a few years back. I did really enjoy what I read, but then I put it down and I forgot about it. And I never picked it back up. So, and this is rather short. Like, it's 274 pages long, so it's not that long. And if I remember correctly, like it was kind of quick. It follows, I think, a gay kid in school. They're doing like an Othello play, so a Shakespeare play, and I really enjoyed that part as well. But I don't remember that much more. And it's Canadian. YaTBRzy is a Canadian Sri Lankan author. Yeah, so that's what I know about this. That's one option. Another option is one that oh my god, does it count as a historical fiction? Like, I was gonna say, like, this is the one that I think I'm gonna pick out of these four. But now I realize it's not historical fiction, it's fantasy. It's Medusa. I just like, oh, this is historical fiction because this is ancient Greece. But she didn't exist. This is mythology. This is not historical fiction. This is... no. I am so bad right now. Like, with first, Magical Blood and Sea, which is 2 books in a bind-up. And then we have this, which is not a historical fiction. Okay, I'm gonna put it back, unfortunately. Then we have My Brother's Keeper. This is set during the time when Korea was split. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so this was in the 1950s. So around the time that the Korean peninsula was split into 2. So we have North Korea and South Korea. But this is set in North Korea. And it's about this girl and her brother, and they're making like a big journey for a reason. I don't remember why. But I was really intrigued by this because I am very like interested in learning about North Korea. I have memoirs as well by North Korean authors in the US who write about their experience as defectors, why they left North Korea, what it was like to live in North Korea and grow up in North Korea. So I'm very like intrigued by North Korea and the stories of North Korea. So I think this is gonna be a fun read. And the last book that I have is Luck of the Titanic. I was really excited about this. I have been very excited about this so far. So this is also a contender. This is about like a gymnast and acrobat who wants to go to America via the Titanic from Britain. But as she's Chinese, she's not allowed on board. But she pretends to be part of this kind of circus, and she gets on board. And then things happen. And the reason I'm very intrigued about this is one, the perspective that we don't rarely see of like an Asian woman on the Titanic, because as I said, they weren't allowed on the Titanic. And then the second thing, Titanic sank. What is gonna happen? Is she gonna make it or is she not gonna make it? We don't know. Is this gonna end with me in tears? Probably. So the question is, do I read this, which is kind of like a middle grade young adult, this, which is kind of like a young adult, or this, which is an adult book that would probably make me cry? And now I'm thinking, I actually want to read this because I want to, for once, not have this on my YaTBRzy bookcase. I have owned this for 6 years and I never finished it. So this is like the book that I have owned the absolute longest without finishing, or without finishing. I read like 20% at most, I think, maybe 50%. So I'm picking this so that I can finally push myself to finish it, because I do want to read it. It sounds amazing. It's just that I haven't had the time to do it while I was a university student, but now I'm gonna make it. Speaking that into existence. So this is the book for historical fiction. And we're moving on to the next. And please, YaTBRzy, don't give me another punishment. Why can't I have like the prompt manga? Book under 100 pages. I would love that. Please. Second roll for June. Now I got the 6s. So 2, whoops. I don't care what this was. I'm gonna roll it again anyways. Okay, I don't want to keep the 2s for a 2 pair. I don't want to do that. But I also don't want to cross anything else out. Okay, fine. I could probably do a lot less. Let's try this for a full house. And we got a full house of 6s and 2s. So that is 18 down here. So that's a yellow card. And we get floral cover. Ooh. Okay, so the next prompt is floral cover, which could have been a punishment because it's difficult to find a book with a floral cover. I don't think I have one. Okay, I found 3 books that might be floral. I mean, like, when I think about floral, I think about, like, you know, these kind of, I was gonna say carpet. They're not called carpets, they're curtains. I'm thinking about, like, these curtains with, like, roses and things, and it's only flowers. You can only see flowers on it. There's nothing else, just flowers. But I don't have that. So my ideas are Descendants of the Crane, if all of these things count as floral. I mean, this is stunning. Like, this is one of the most gorgeous covers. Like, I absolutely adore this cover. Like, look at this girl, and like the light and the crane and the I love it. And the second one that I had was this, and I don't think I'm able to count this as floral because there are no flowers, they're leaves. And this is such an autumn vibe. But the thing is, like, it's short. It's 240 pages long. It's short. And the last, and I can tell you that I lied. I lied earlier when I said I only had 2 books over 500 pages. Because the third book is Pachinko. It's 530 pages long. But I lied because, like, first of all, the print is small. It's so chunky. Like, this one is also 500, but it's, okay, they're kind of the same. Never mind. But this has also a floral cover. Like, I think this has the most floral cover out of all of these. I think this one is out of the game. So then it's between these 2 East Asian books. This one is actually a Korean book with, like, as I said earlier, Korea, the Korean peninsula was occupied by Japan, and this is kind of like what it was like to be Korean in Japan, moving to Japan because Korea was part of Japan, so you were Japanese and Korean. So this is kind of like generations of Koreans in Japan and identity and stuff like that from what I understand. But the question is, do I want to read a historical fiction that is 540 pages long, or a kind of fantasy based on, I think it's Chinese mythology, I'm gonna say East Asian because I don't know specific country, but based on East Asian mythology and stuff that is under 400 pages. I'm reading this. I would love to read Pachinko at one point, but I feel like it's that kind of book that I want to have more time with, and because I also have to have, like, in mind that I'm doing a 10 books 10 days thing. I don't want to have this to read for the other 20 days because it's over 500 pages, and I don't want 2 books over 500 pages on my YaTBRzy TBR. That's why. I do really want to read it. I've heard only good things about it, so I am excited to read it. Just not for June. Roll 3. Okay, this looks better. So 2 pairs, attempting 2 pairs. And last roll. Yay, okay, 2 pairs, that was good. That feels a lot better. So that is 22, meaning it's the highest possible, so it's a red card, and the number is 49. So finally, we get good news because I got highest possible and I got the number 49. So we're gonna see what book I will end up with, because as we said earlier, when I talked about books from May, I can either pick books here on number 49, from my reading journal number 49, or from Goodreads number 49. So we're gonna start off by counting here and see what book I will get if I pick from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 20, I'll do that. 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are you kidding? Oh my god, okay. So this is a contender if I pick 49 from my TBR bookcase. The other way I could do it was from a reading journal, so let's go to that. So here we have my reading journal, and I'm going to count to 49, and I'm going to skip the crossed out ones because those I have read. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 40, 46, 47, 48, 49. So I'm going to read this book. So the second option I got was this book. And all I know about it is that it's a queer manga. It's a boys love manga, if I remember correctly. And I will pick something like that. So the question is, what book is it on my want to read list on Goodreads? Okay, so number 49. So 3, 4, 5. Okay, so number 49 is Fence. So I have the choice between Pachinko, Tomorrow Make Me Yours, a manga below 200 pages, or Fence, a graphic novel. I think I'm going to go with Tomorrow Make Me Yours because it is short and I have it as an ebook already. Next roll. Oh my god. 3 1s, 1 2 and 1 5. I need 5s. I need 5s, 4 of a kind. 5s and 4 of a kind is all I need. So I'm gonna keep the 1 5 I got. And no 5. Oh my god, I could have, okay. Are you serious? Okay, I'm putting 1 5 in 5s. This wasn't so fun. So I got 60 in total. And I was confused because I got 25 there and 5 there. So how is it 1 point different? Because it's a lot of things bigger. But then I just crossed that out. And I take a yellow card. Ooh, pink cover. And the next prompt should be I was gonna say easy, but then I look and there's no book that is pink. How is no book pink? Like this here, this color here is the closest to pink that I have. Okay, oh my god. The issue for me is when I do this kind of prompt with the cover, it has to be majority cover. So kind of like with this, I count this as floral cover because there are a lot, like it takes up half the page. So I need to find a book that takes up at least half the page pink. Like when in doubt of finding a pink cover, look at a romance and it's green. Okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna pick a book from my red books. That's what we're gonna do. The good thing is, I rearranged my bookcase not that long ago. So black bookshelf, white to pink to red, red to purple to blue, and then suddenly orange to green. Why? Doesn't make sense. But here we have pink books. So I have the chance to reread a pink book with a cover that is majority pink. I mean, like all of these, I could probably read all of these. The only one that I have out of these that would be easy to read for the prompt, I mean like for the challenge, read 5, is Heartstopper Volume 1. Oh my god. Okay, Meet Cute Club was really cute. I really loved that. Dating Makes Perfect was also a very quick read for me. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Okay, so for pink cover, I actually said like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna read Heartstopper. And then I pulled it out and realized the cover wasn't pink. Just the spine was pink. So yeah, the two books that I am deciding between as two favorites. Dating Makes Perfect, which I absolutely adore. It's probably my absolute favorite YA romance of all time. I adore this. It's best friends to rivals to fake dating to lovers. It's very interesting. The dynamic between these characters is super fun because they were so close as kids. They were best friends as kids, inseparable. And then something happened and they stopped being friends. So like we follow Winnie, who is from this traditional Thai family, and a guy called Matt, who is also from a traditional Thai family. And Winnie's two older sisters, they're twins, they start college, and their parents are like, you need to get married, and they say that they couldn't, it's difficult for them to date because they never were allowed to date. So the parents decide that, okay, Winnie, you're in high school now, you're gonna learn to date. So we're gonna set you up with a guy, and he's going to teach you how to date and how to be a good girlfriend. And they, of course, choose someone that they know, a family friend, like a friend within the Thai community, their son. So they choose Matt. So Matt is going on all of these dates with Winnie to teach her how to date and be a good girlfriend. And it's super cute, and their dynamic is so nice. Like, I love it. And I just, like, this book has such like huge part, like big piece. Wait, what is it called? This has a special place in my heart. I'm gonna say it like that. This book will always have a very like special place in my heart because I just adore it. So I feel like this is one of those books. I did read this in one afternoon. Like, I just flew through it. It was so good. So I think for the 10 books, 10 days, this would be a good book for that. But a book that I am choosing is Meet Cute Club because it is shorter. And I also read this in not that long. I couldn't put it down. I had to keep reading it until the point that I finished it. I just absolutely love this. This is such a good romance, and it involves books. What's not to love about that? So I am going to read this for pink cover. I would argue that it is majority pink on the back as well. Okay, so last roll. I need to get 4 of a kind if I don't want another punishment prompt. So please, YaTBRzy gods, be kind to me. Okay, so this fell off, so I'm rolling it again. And it's a free. So we have 2 frees and 2 ones. So I will save the frees. 2 more frees. Oh my god, okay, I got 2 5s. No, I'm keeping the frees. I'm not, I'm keeping the 5s. Okay, 2 5s. 2, are you serious? So I get 2 of a kind each time, each roll. So that's, I'm crossing it out. Thank you, gods. Crossing it out. So that's another punishment prompt. Okay. Book about grief, no. And why end on a high note when you can end with another punishment? This time, a book about grief. Yeah, okay, we're gonna see if... I just realized pachinko would have worked for this as well. But I'm not gonna pick pachinko for obvious reasons again. So let's look. Okay. The book that I chose for a book about grief is Medusa. It's almost exactly 200 pages long. How do I explain this? I'm gonna just read this little part here. You know her name. You know her story. just not the right one. And it kind of says that, as well as here, like Gorgon, killer, monster, victim, survivor, protector, that the stories about her, about Medusa, are wrong. She's not a villain. Her past is really, really tragic, and she's now decided to speak up against the oppressors and for like give a voice to victims, kind of. And because of like the inclusion of like tragic past, and this is her telling her story, I feel like it is a little bit about grief, because her past is tragic, what she went through is tragic. So I will pick this. And I have been super excited to read this ever since I found out about it. I love Greek mythology, and my favorite person of Greek mythology is Medusa. And I just absolutely love Medusa. I think she's such a cool and strong female character. And I wanted to read this book to kind of see someone write from her perspective and say like, this is my story. And I'm very intrigued about that. So now I've picked 5 out of the 6 prompts. The only book I haven't picked, or the only prompt I haven't picked for, is over 500 pages. But now with both Meet Cute Club and Medusa, which are both rather short, I think both of them are below or around 200 pages. Meaning I could pick whichever of these I want and have those 2 on the 10 books, 10 days thing, and read one of these for the 20 days that is not part of the 10 books, 10 days thing. So the question is this one book, even if I log it as 2 different books? Like, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think I can read this and count it as 2 different books? I'm gonna see how long. So the first one is 241 pages, meaning the other one is around 300 pages. Yeah, so here we have the split. So the first part and the second part. So this is the first book, Assassin's Curse and Pirate's Wish. So these are the 2 individual books that together make a 510 page bind up. Am I allowed to count a bind up of 2 books as 1 book, even if I log them on Goodreads and in my reading journal as separate books? I don't think so. If I count them, if I log them as 2 different books, I can't count it as 1 book. So I would have to log it as 1 book to count it as 1 book. Does that make sense? Oh my god, this is so difficult. I am going to go with Gemina because it is a quicker read, and I could read this in the 10 books, 10 days thing without issue, probably. And I can't confidently say that I would count this as 1 book, even if it's a bind up. I just kind of feel like with this being a bind up of 2 books, and if I would count this as 1 book, that means that I would count this as 1 book. This is 5 books in 1 bind up. And I would never count this large thing as 1 book. And because I wouldn't count this as 1 book, I can't count this as 1 book. So that's what I'm landing on with it. So I'm going to read these 4 books as well as Tomorrow Make Me Yours for YaTBRzy. So now we're gonna pick the 10 books I'm going to read. No, I'm gonna pick 5 books that I'm going to read for 10 books, 10 days. Okay, so the 5 books that I have decided that I will read for the 10 books, 10 days thing. And I will, during the vlog that I will put up, pick 5 more books during that vlog. So, of course, Meet Cute Club as well as Medusa, both are short and they're part of YaTBRzy, so I'm going to read them for the 10 books, 10 days challenge. And other than those, I'm going to read Tomorrow Make Me Yours, which is also YaTBRzy. And then I will read 86, Volume 2. I read Volume 1 for Desertathon and also YaTBRzy last month, so for May. And I did enjoy it. So I'm going to read Volume 2. And the last book that I will read out of the specific 5 that I have to set today is Ronin Island, which is kind of, I have no idea. Okay, so Ronin Island is kind of like in the 19th century. In the 19th century, there are issues between China, Korea, and Japan. and they find refuge on an island outside of Japan, and suddenly warlord. The synopsis is extremely long, as you can see, so it's difficult to summarize it. But survivors from the different countries find refuge on this hidden island, and there is an army that is going to invade them. There's also a mutated horde, and a comment says that it's The Walking Dead set in feudal Japan, which sounds interesting. So those are the 5 books that I will read specifically for 10 books 10 days. So the books that I will read in June are Gemina, Medusa, Meet Cute Club, Swimming in the Monsoon Sea, The Descendants of the Crane, Tomorrow Make Me Yours, 86, and Ronin Island. Those are all of the books that I will read in June. YaTBRzy wasn't kind to me at all today. No. Free punishment prompts. One. Yeah. Yeah. We can only go up from here for July. I say, and there is of course a chance that there is no chance I can get 5 punishment prompts unless I fail to read any of the books for YaTBRzy this month. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great reading month in June, and I will see you next time. Good reading. Bye.